everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to upcycle a tin can. I made this adorable little, it can be used for whatever. I have used a lot of them to hold my brushes. It's just something fun to make, and we're using something that would have been, thrown out. So I think that's kind of cool. This has a lot of texture to it, and I'll show you what I used. And I did use air dry clay with the molds, silicone molds. So if you're curious to see and you want to make one for yourself, stay tuned. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward this because the actual work took a little while and everybody would have been bored. So I prepped my can by first sanding the inside of the rim so that there's no, sharp edges or anything. If there were, I pressed them down with pliers first. I went over the whole can with Goo Gone to remove any stickiness from the labels. And then I went over it again with some acetone or nail polish remover to remove any of that oily feeling from the Goo Gone. And here you see me using some cornstarch to put in the silicone mold. And that just helps it release better. Sometimes I have used baby oil also, depending on the temperature, humidity, and whatnot inside. Then I cut off any excess pieces that weren't supposed to be on the medallion. I wet my fingers and I go over the edges of the medallion just to kind of smooth in some of the pointy stuff that's hung over onto the mold. Now you can use whatever glue works for you. Wood glue works great. You have to be sure you don't get any excess glue on the outside because it does dry yellow color. And you would want to remove the glue anyway, any excess puddling, just so that it doesn't mess with the design. I have also used glitter glue. I've used Uhu glue. So here you see me just taking a paintbrush and wetting it with water and going around the edges and just smoothing out the design better and pressing down lightly to make sure it has good contact. And then I'm just going to let that side dry before I apply the second side. Sometimes if I have the can standing straight up and there's too much glue on the clay, it'll start sliding down. So I didn't want that to happen. So I'm going to do one side at a time and let it sit on its side so that it won't move around. I use this little scrapey tool to scrape off the excess clay, and I do leave the extra clay in a plastic wrap, and that just helps keep it moist and stop it from drying out. When I'm done with it, I'll place that little bag inside a container. Before I used to just grab it off the main block, but I opened and closed the container so much that block was getting dried out. So now I just, grab a bit and keep it in the plastic wrap while I'm working. And here I'm just, trying to make it semi-even, taking out my little ruler and just trying to make sure there, enough space between the medallions because I do want to add some little square pieces in between. Sometimes I work by eye and sometimes my eyes don't work, so I brought out the ruler. So here I'm showing you my picture from Pinterest. That was the inspiration. And I'm trying to use what I have to kind of copy what's in the picture. And I actually do have that one particular, I call them rope molds, they use for the edging. And it has like X's and O's on it. In the beginning, I went ahead and tried to get all matching molds Some I could find, some I couldn't. So now that I have a stash, I try to use what I do have because it doesn't have to match the reference picture perfectly. I think I mostly want like the contrasting color, that blue and the brown, and I wanted the texture on the can, and so that's what I was really trying to match. And you know, my can's a different size and my medallions are different sizes, so just use what you have. It doesn't have to be exact, and I learned that after doing this for a while, and I was being too critical of myself because it didn't match exactly. And I started to enjoy what I created using what I had and just using reference pictures for ideas. And I think that works out a lot better, a lot less stress. Here I'm just using the brush and water, just trying to hide the seams a bit. Sometimes the more I fiddle with it, the more it moves. I can come back later if there's any gaps, and I'll just take a little bit of clay and I'll smush it in and maneuver it with a little, sculpting tool so it's not so obvious. And this is some texture gel that I found at Hobby Lobby. It was on clearance one day and I had it in my stash for at least 2 years now. And I saw it, it's like, well, this is what I was needing. I didn't have to make my own. I didn't have to go out and buy any. It's just what I have. I know there's some videos that'll show you how to make your own texture paste. I had to let that. Hopefully the sound will show, but I was drying after I painted it all with black gesso. Now I tried 4 different colors of paints just to get the one that I liked. I was using lighter clay colors and it just wasn't the look I wanted. So this brown color, which is a coffee bean color, was what finally worked for me and gave me the contrast between the brown and the blue that I liked. I had 2 metallic paint colors there. The first one was an icy blue and it was just too light. So this particular one was the turquoise shimmer, and that's what I'm using to catch the highlights and cover just the medallions, trying not to get it on the brown paint, which of course I did, and I just, painted back over with brown paint. I'm adding more and more on the medallion in areas just to see what I really like, and I felt like the medallion needed to be more blue with very little brown shadowing. So that's why I'm going over it little by little just to see what I like until I get what I like. So once I finally finish painting it, I'm going to add 2 coats of varnish. And on this one, I used Varathane Ultimate Polyurethane Crystal Clear Gloss. You can also use Mod Podge, which I do also. Gloss or matte, it just all depends on what you like. I kind of like that shimmer. So here comes the glamour shots coming up, and I hope you see that this is really easy and fun to make, and I hope you have fun making them for yourself. As always, thank you for watching and enjoy yourself crafting.